The FIA has dropped a bombshell. New penalties confirmed for both Oscar Piastri and Lewis Hamilton after the chaos of the Brazilian Grand Prix. Hamilton, after a race-ending collision and front-wing failure, now sees his frustration turned into punishment. Piastri, already under fire for triggering Leclerc's DNF, just saw his title hopes shaken. Ferrari is falling apart. Mercedes and Red Bull are pulling away. With just 3 races left, the battle for second is slipping out of reach fast. How did we get here, and can Hamilton or Piastri recover before the season spirals out of control? The FIA has just confirmed a wave of new penalties following the chaos at the Brazilian Grand Prix, and at the heart of it all are 2 of the most talked about drivers on the grid, Lewis Hamilton and Oscar Piastri. What was already a disastrous Sunday for both has now become a full-blown crisis, with championship implications that could redefine the final stretch of the 2025 season. For Hamilton, the penalty feels like salt in an open wound. His race ended in retirement after a high-speed clash with Colapinto that destroyed the front wing of his SF25 and left the car undrivable. It was already a painful setback for Ferrari, but now, the FIA's confirmation of a 5-second penalty after the race had ended adds insult to injury. A call many feel was harsh. A call that may cost Ferrari their last shot at second in the constructors. Oscar Piastri isn't faring any better. His aggressive lunge on Andrea Kimi Antonelli at the start of the race triggered a chain reaction that forced Charles Leclerc into retirement and left McLaren scrambling to justify the move. Now, the FIA has doubled down, confirming a 10-second penalty post-race, and with it, denting Piastri's already fragile drivers' championship hopes. The timing? Brutal. With just 3 races left, he's losing ground to teammate Lando Norris when it matters most. The impact of these decisions is massive. Ferrari's double DNF in Brazil meant 0 points. McLaren only salvaged a handful. Meanwhile, Mercedes and Red Bull took full advantage, racking up crucial points and pulling away in the standings. In a matter of hours, the battle for second in the constructors, once wide open, has tilted dramatically away from Ferrari and McLaren. And beneath all the data and rulings, there's something deeper: 2 elite drivers being dragged down by team errors, stewarding inconsistencies, and the brutal timing of late-season pressure. Hamilton, with all his experience, gave everything to control an unstable car. Piastri, hungry for a title shot, took a risk that turned into a disaster. Now both face public scrutiny, internal tension, and a tightening clock. This wasn't just a bad race. It was a turning point. The FIA's rulings have reshaped the grid. Team strategies will shift. Championship calculations have changed. And with only 3 races left, there is no time to recover, only time to respond. From the moment the lights went out at Interlagos, Lewis Hamilton was in recovery mode. Starting 13th on the grid after a difficult qualifying session, the odds were already against him. But few drivers manage adversity like Hamilton. He made a clean launch, positioned himself smartly through the Senna S, and avoided early chaos. That is, until turn 4. A misjudged move from Carlos Sainz clipped the rear of Hamilton's car like contact, but enough to damage the SF25's floor. Just 3 corners into the race, Hamilton was driving wounded. Even with compromised aero, Hamilton pressed on. His pace remained competitive through Sector 1, managing tire temps and keeping the field in range. But on lap 8, the race tilted irreversibly. Exiting Junção, Hamilton attempted to pass Franco Colapinto around the outside, a bold but controlled move. As he edged ahead, Colapinto squeezed tighter. The space vanished. Hamilton's front wing struck the Alpine's rear tire, destroying the end plate and compromising the entire front aero platform. The move was marginal. The damage was critical. The fallout was immediate. With the front wing's balance destroyed and the airflow underneath the car disrupted, Hamilton lost all stability in high-speed corners. He radioed the team. "The car is completely unstable," he warned. "Oversteer on entry, understeer mid-corner, overheating rears." It wasn't just uncomfortable, it was dangerous. Yet Ferrari delayed the pit call, trying to assess damage before making a decision. By the time Hamilton entered for a new front wing, the time loss was irreversible. And then came the second blow. The FIA reviewed the incident and handed Hamilton a 5-second time penalty, citing that he was predominantly to blame for the contact with Colapinto. The ruling stunned many across the paddock. On board showed Hamilton maintaining a clean line and reacting to the squeeze. There was no dive bomb. No reckless dive. It was a racing move punished under rules that still leave too much room for interpretation. The timing, too, coming just after his pit stop, added to the strategic hit. From there, the race only deteriorated. The car, now heavier with hard tires and still carrying floor damage from the Sainz hit, became undrivable. Hamilton was losing over 3 seconds per lap. Even with all his experience adjusting brake balance, energy deployment, and differential maps, the car wouldn't respond. By lap 40, the call was made, retire the car. Hamilton rolled back into the garage, helmet on, saying nothing over the radio. His silence spoke volumes. This wasn't the story of a driver making mistakes. It was the story of a driver managing chaos, absorbing blows, and ultimately being undone by a broken package, both technical and regulatory. The penalty confirmed after the fact only added weight to an already collapsed campaign. For Hamilton, Brazil was another moment where control slipped away, not through his own fault, but through circumstances that exposed the fragility of Ferrari's fight. The Ferrari SF25 is a car built on aerodynamic precision, but that very strength is also its greatest flaw. Every component of its aero package, from the sculpted floor to the complex front wing, is calibrated for airflow dependency. That means when one part is damaged, the entire balance is disrupted. In Hamilton's case, the broken front wing endplate after contact with Colapinto didn't just affect downforce, it destroyed the car's internal equilibrium. The front axle lost bite, the center of pressure shifted rearwards, and the car's handling became unpredictable. That instability was compounded by damage already present from lap 1. When Sainz clipped Hamilton earlier in the race, it weakened part of the floor's edge and diffuser structure. Combined with the nose damage from Colapinto, Ferrari's finely tuned aero system couldn't generate consistent load. The result? A chassis that wouldn't rotate on entry, overheated tires mid-corner, and sudden snap oversteer on exits. It was a car that punished even clean inputs, and that's exactly what Hamilton was delivering. He tried every trick in the book. Shifting brake bias forward to protect the rears. Adjusting differential settings to ease corner entry. Tweaking energy deployment to stabilize acceleration out of slower turns. But the SF25 didn't respond. The car wouldn't stay in the tire's working window, and the balance shifted corner to corner. Sector times confirmed it. Hamilton lost performance everywhere, not through lack of effort, but because the car no longer behaved like the one he qualified with. Ferrari's pit wall tried to buy time. They fitted a harder compound to reduce degradation. They told Hamilton to reset and stay calm, but strategy cannot fix aero collapse. Unlike Red Bull, whose RB21 remains manageable with partial front wing loss, or Mercedes, whose W15 has a more balanced load map, Ferrari's car simply breaks down without perfect airflow. It's not about damage control. It's about damage multiplication. And in Hamilton's case, there was no buffer. By lap 40, the verdict was clear: the car was unsafe to continue. Despite Hamilton's input and composure, the data showed risk of spin or further contact. Ferrari made the call to retire. But beyond the tactical loss, this was symbolic. It marked the second time in 3 races where Hamilton couldn't finish due to car instability, not driver error. And with each technical failure, the belief in Ferrari's capacity to support a championship-caliber driver weakens. This wasn't just an engineering shortfall. It was a strategic failing to build a car that can survive contact, recover balance, and adapt under race pressure. And for a driver like Hamilton, who has mastered recovery drives for over a decade, that kind of fragility is unacceptable. In Brazil, it wasn't the incident that ruined the race. It was the car's inability to survive it. The fallout from Brazil goes far beyond one race. With both Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc failing to score, Ferrari walked away from Interlagos with 0 points, a catastrophic blow in a season where the fight for second in the Constructors' Championship is razor-thin. Their main rivals, Mercedes and Red Bull, took full advantage. George Russell secured solid points for Mercedes. Red Bull capitalized on McLaren's own chaos. The scoreboard now tells a very different story. Ferrari has slipped to 4th in the Constructors. They now trail Mercedes by 34 points and Red Bull by 62, with just 2 races remaining. What was once a neck-and-neck fight for second has become a desperate struggle to avoid slipping out of the top 3 entirely. In a season with massive prize money and development stakes attached to final position, this isn't just a reputational hit, it's a structural crisis. What makes it worse is how the gap opened. Ferrari's car has pace. On Saturdays, it's often in the top 5. But the team is hemorrhaging points on Sundays through reliability, strategy misfires, and incidents like the one Hamilton faced in Brazil. Meanwhile, Mercedes and Red Bull are executing clean, efficient races. Their drivers are finishing. Their pit walls are reacting correctly. And their cars are staying intact when the racing gets messy. That's the difference between second place and 4th. Internally, Ferrari is feeling the pressure. After promising Hamilton a fresh project and a winning platform, the team has delivered inconsistency and fragility. Brazil wasn't a fluke, it was a pattern. Japan, Mexico, now Interlagos, 3 races where Hamilton was compromised not by his own mistakes, but by the system around him. And each time, the points gap has grown. Ferrari no longer controls its own destiny. Yet even amid all this, Hamilton remains composed. His pace in qualifying continues to match the lead group. His racecraft is still elite. And his data feedback, as Ferrari engineers have quietly admitted, is helping refine the SF25's development more than expected. But there is a limit. Every driver, no matter how experienced, reaches a point where commitment wavers if the structure doesn't support results. For Hamilton, the danger isn't a lack of motivation, it's wasted potential. This was supposed to be the beginning of a comeback story. A new team, a fresh challenge, a shot at rewriting history. But after Brazil, Ferrari is no longer battling for titles, it's fighting to protect pride. If they fail to respond immediately, both Hamilton's trust and their competitive future could be damaged far beyond the final standings.